So I'm back with another video to talk about establishing a love relationship with selling. And I've done a previous talk on this topic, and I thought it was important to come back and share a little bit more about it. One of the things that I want to emphasize in terms of establishing a love relationship with sales is that you have to look at sales as being a partner, and you're in partnership. You're in a love relationship. And the best way to be able to connect to the very art of selling and the science of selling is really through a process of establishing a relationship. And so there's ways to get present, and we're going to do a little bit of that. And I actually introduced that even in the previous video around this. But the more you do it, the more it's embodied as a way of being. And so that's what I really want to focus on during this time, is practicing partnership, okay? So when you practice partnership with selling, as I mentioned, this is about an embodiment. This allows you to embrace that concept and become more aware of how you literally have to treat sales as if it is, a partner. It's a living, breathing organism in a sense that you get to, establish a relationship with. So what I want you to do at this time is just, think about a time that you were really excited about putting an offer, an opportunity out there in the marketplace. And you had these big plans, and you saw this was going to be something that could really support others, right? And so then you launched it, and maybe when you launched it, you got a little bit of traction from it, but not really what you were really desiring. Or maybe you had other people who were saying, yes, we're interested, that's needed. And then once you put it out there, you didn't receive the support that you thought that you would. And the results just didn't match up from what you envisioned. So with that, you can think, well, I know I was guided to put this out there and to be able to share this with the world. How come my enthusiasm didn't convert, to converts? So it didn't have any conversion, at least not at a high rate that you desired. So sometimes when you have had those experiences, that can kind of deter you from wanting to not just try again, but just feeling a ways about selling. Or if you've heard from other people, even other gurus, you shouldn't be selling, and you don't need to put yourself out there in that way, even though they're selling you at the time that they're actually, talking about that and sharing that. They are in some ways selling you, even if it's on a concept to change your mind. So there's a lot of things that happen why people don't really appreciate the art and the science of selling. But the missing piece is the relational piece. So that's what I was mentioning about practicing partnership. So the reason why I want you to call those things to mind is because this is the time to examine how you feel about sales and why maybe you don't want to engage it, or you haven't been desiring or feeling the need to fully engage it a certain way, and kind of just sit back and just say, well, I'll just see kind of what happens. I'll create things, but I'm not really going to promote it. I'm not really going to put it out there in a certain way, right? But the missing piece again is the relationship aspect, that though you created these things, you got the inspiration, but you didn't necessarily check in with your partner, the selling aspect, to really know how do we actually need to move this in the marketplace, instead of just being on autopilot or thinking, I've created it, let me start just showcasing this on social media and sharing it a certain way. What's the strategy, or what's the initial feeling of a plan or so that selling itself can advise you or consult you in? So I'm going to take a moment to just be present with sales as it is a partner. So think about someone you're really interested in, or someone you think you've fallen in love with or so. And I want you to do this from a new energy, because at first I was going to say, think about when you first had fallen in love, if you've been in love before. and how that feeling was. But I actually want you to actually suspend that and be in the new energy. So again, thinking about someone you just, you're interested in, you just met them or so, they could be your potential partner. But then thinking also in terms of someone that you are already in love with and you trust them, right? So be in that space for a moment and just feel into what the wisdom could be around how you need to be with sales. So what does sales desire from you in a relationship? And what do you desire from sales in a relationship? And how can you start to cultivate this? How can you commit to deepening this partnership with the one you love? So let's just be in that space. You may not get anything in terms of insight, but it really is just taking the time to just be in the moment, creating the momentum, stimulating this vibration. This is like a time of intimacy, right? Sacred space time with selling. So in creating this sacred space time with selling, and I'm going to do another talk even around that, is what does that feel like? Because it's going to be different for everyone. So what's that like? And just think about that for a moment. Being in this sacred space with sales, with the different levels, the art of selling and the science of selling. It really is the essence of selling. And I actually talk about this in one of my trainings that is about the essence of successful selling. And I have information below about that training. So just creating this space, and I know this may seem a little weird to some of you who aren't used to doing this or have never even heard of this concept, but you would be surprised that if you take a few moments, a few times a week, or I would say daily, to build up the momentum, right? If even for the next 15 to 30 days, you can take 5 minutes out just to be present in that space and be intentional about having this intimacy and practicing the partnership and just connecting, just being, you're just listening, you're just hearing, or you're just being in the presence, in the energy. And of course, you can ask empowering questions. Again, just treating sales as if it's a partner. Now, you don't have to get into really talking about it and everything. It really is just an awareness, a way of beingness to embrace, and then comes the embodiment. The more you practice this partnership, you will see a tremendous difference in terms of what your results would be as you are selling, so to speak. And the vibration and energy of sales itself will give you insight and wisdom on how to be with this in your own unique way. So you don't necessarily have to feel like you're actually really selling, because when it's a way of beingness, it's a vibration. It's just an expression, and you don't really have to think much about it. It just kind of organically just starts to happen. It's more of a high level attraction factor that takes place kind of on a different scale, because it's very non-linear. But again, the more you actually do this and you see how important it is, you're going to see different levels of results. And when I say different levels, I'm talking about multi-levels of results that play out. And that's what you really want, because that's what's going to be required moving forward in this new now business normal. As things progress, you'll see that the dynamics change, the way you show up, the rules of engagement are completely different. And having this intimacy with so many different aspects of your business, but primarily at this point, the selling aspect, right? The profitability will go off the roof, or out the roof in a sense, in a very holistic way. You create these different experiences for yourself where the divine right value exchange will come in at various levels. You'll be in alignment with the vibration of currency. And again, that will play out in very different levels, but primarily, ultimately, in the financial level, is where most, really want to see that part of their sales trajectory fill in. So take at least, like I said, maybe 5 minutes or so, maybe 5 to 15 minutes or so each day for the next 15 to 30 days and see how you created that momentum. What you start to hear, what you start to feel, what you start to sense, how you start to move your creations into the marketplace, and new ideas that come, and the different levels of collaborations and partnerships and things that could potentially show up for you. It's be phenomenal. So on the note again of practicing partnership, like I said, you've heard the statement, I'm sure, practice makes perfect, or perfect practice makes perfect. Basically, it's the more you do it, the more it's established, the more it is a way of beingness, the more it is an embodiment. And so I just thought it was important to come back and talk about that. Is that a lot of times the reason why you're not seeing different results, or even people who are getting great results, if they want to take it to the next level, have the intimacy with sales and strengthen that partnership. But you have to start somewhere, and that's why this is the time to start establishing it. So there'll also be a link to the previous talk where I talked about this. And so take that in as well and leverage it with this one and just everything else that I've, been sharing. And then also there'll be a playlist below that you can avail yourself to with other talks that I've done, and allow that to be maybe the private time that you take, the intimacy time that you take of learning and establishing, this love relationship with selling, because I do share just different aspects of how you need to look at sales, and have a different vantage point from, maybe your current thinking and thoughts around it and everything, your current perception. So even if you take time to listen to those videos and do some of the actions or so, or just, like I said, just take time to listen to it, that's time of intimacy. That's time of being with sales in a different way, because it's not so much of being with sales of, oh, let me figure out how I need to sell more, what I need to do. It's really changing your perception and establishing this different type of relationship, a new nature, or a new way of being with sales. So avail yourself to that content below, and I look forward to being back with you soon.